Hi everyone, you're here sewing with Cody and Pete, and in today's video we are working on the Bernette Sew and Go 1, and we're going to show you how to make a buttonhole using the 4-step buttonhole method on this Bernette. And while you're watching this video, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It helps other people see the videos as well. So let's get started. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your buttonhole foot or attachment, which is letter B. Buttonhole foot attachment B, and we're going to put this on, and it just snaps on just like the rest of the feet. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our thread and feed it underneath our foot just so it's out of the way. So what we're going to do, what's very important, is we're going to come over here to our stitch length, and we're going to adjust that stitch length in the to the buttonhole section, which is between the 1 and the 0. And then we're going to want to reposition our stitch selection knob to be at step 1. It's actually step 1, 3 for the first step. So before we start stitching, we are going to want to take our fabric, and we're going to want to take our button, and we're going to want to measure the size of our button. So what we want to do is we want to kind of place the button on our fabric where we're going to want it, or where we want our buttonhole to be. And then we're going to use it to measure the size that we need to create our buttonhole. So one rule of thumb is when you're creating a buttonhole, you always want it about 1/8 of an inch longer than the button itself. So what we'll do is we'll put a little dot, a little line right above the button and right below the button, so we know where to start and stop. And what we also want to do is we want to extend that out, because we'll need to see it on the side. Hopefully you can see that. So this is where we're going to start, and this is where we're going to start here, go up, and then come back down. So we'll take a closer look at it in just a second. So here we can see that there are markings on our foot. So this is going to help us with creating our button. So what we would have also done is create a vertical line designating the center on our fabric where we need our buttonhole to line up with. So we know where to line it up at. So we're going to line the foot. So where it's going to start is we want this foot to be pushed more towards the back, because what it's going to do is it's going to stitch forward, and we need that room to come forward. This foot is just designed to help secure the fabric, because underneath the foot are little grippies, so that's going to help grip the fabric and move it evenly. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to make sure we're on number 1 on the side. So we'll make sure we're on number 1 here. And the first step is going to be the bar tack at the bottom. So we're going to line it up right about here. So what we're doing is we're going to start at the first mark, and that's what the little lines on the foot are for. So we can see where we need to start, and we see where we need to stop. Because if you see here on the inside, the portion of the foot which is going to move backwards, there's more little markings. So as long as these two line up in the beginning, there we go. So as long as these two line up in the beginning, we'll be able to stitch backwards and line up with the line in the back. But first, we're going to do our bar tack. So just take a few stitches there. And then we're going to come over to our hand wheel on the side. We're going to come over here and now change it to the 2. Come here, and now it's going to stitch backwards. And we want to stitch backwards until the lines line up with the line of our fabric. Then we'll come back to our little stitch selection knob, and we're going to turn it to basically back to stitch 1, because stitch 1 and stitch 3 are the same one, and it's just a bar tack. So we'll go to step 3. So now we're going to stitch that bar tack again, but at the top. Take a few stitches. And remember, whenever we stop, we always want the needle to stop up before we change our stitch. So always turn your hand wheel. You want to turn on this machine, you want to turn your hand wheel counterclockwise so it comes forward. And so make sure our needle's up. And then we're going to go back to our stitch selection lever, our knob, and go to step 4. So here we're at step 4. So turn it to step 4. And now at step 4, it's going to stitch down on the right side. But you want to make sure you stop right at that bar tack where we started. So here we've stopped right at that bar tack, so we're finished. So we can remove our fabric, cut our tail, and here we have our buttonhole. So our nice little buttonhole. So we can cut our beginning tail. And so here you'll take a seam ripper and rip that hole up. But there's your buttonhole. So we can see where we started on that line and we ended on this line. And this should match up with our red button perfectly. All right, here's our buttonhole on our Bernette Sew and Go 1 using the 4-step buttonhole method. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, happy sewing!